Wait. Fuck, it's the same joke almost every time. Alright, welcome to Radical Rascals, Part 2. I'm Nick.
I'm Sean.
Introduce me.
And today we have a special guest. She woke up from her nap from last week. It's Aryanna.
Hi, it's me, Aryanna.
We'll insert like a clap track. I was telling her about how last week we were talking about her like she was asleep in the room. Yeah. Yo, R, anything to say?
Alright, Mojo was like, yo, was she really asleep?
Yeah. Wait, how long did you guys keep pretending like that was a thing?
Through the whole thing, we kept pointing back to it. But yeah. So today's episode is, or I guess today's second episode is gonna be on nature versus nurture. This will be a formal debate.
Bro, fuck out of here.
We're gonna fight to the death.
No, we'll talk about the concept of nature versus nurture, and then we can talk about I guess each side of it, and then where we stand on it.
And the 20-minute rebuttals.
So each one will have a 5-minute opening statement, and then we will open the floor to rebuttals. And then we will have a 15-minute Q&A at the end. So anyone from the audience line up to the microphones on either side of the stage.
But in 20 minutes, Sean will start looking at the clock and looking at us like, wrap it up. He's
going to be like,
all right, man.
Yo, I got shit to do. But yeah, so...
Let's start off with Nick, since he's
yeah, you never start off.
Oh my god, dude.
He's
I do all the time. Fuck. Alright.
What do you think about human behavior?
No, alright, we start with nature versus nurture. So nature versus nurture is a concept within, I think, philosophy and psychology. It's kind of like an intersection between the two. And it discusses whether human nature is predominantly decided by nature, which is your genetics. It's just... just genetics, or nurture, which is how you're brought up. Environment, yes. So yeah, the
surrounding.
yes, surroundings as well. Yes. So yeah, that's nature versus nurture, in a nutshell. And then there's who were the two philosophers?
John.
Was it John Locke?
I think it's John Locke and Rousseau. I don't. Oh, it's Jean Rousseau.
Jean-Jacques Rousseau.
Okay.
John Locke, Karl Marx. Everybody talks about nature versus nurture.
I mean, a lot of people do. It's just we're talking about two prominent figures, or one on either side of it, to show
even earlier than them. They're just Buddhist figures.
Yeah, name one.
Oh my god, why are you guys beefing today?
There's just we learned it in Eastern religion.
Nah, there's just too many. I can't choose one.
There's one guy who says that humans are born naturally evil. Mm-hmm. One guy who says humans are born naturally good, and one guy who says they're just born and they're
just neutral slates and they absorb everything around them.
So,
I like that one. I'm gonna go with okay.
It dates even further than Locke and Rousseau, but regardless, Nick, I want to hear where you stand.
Where I say we're not going to jump into both sides of the argument. Alright, fuck it. This one's going to be a lot less formal then. So where I stand is I like to think of it as nature being the cards you're dealt and nurture being like how you play them. So I think that I guess it would take a lot, there'd be a lot more nuance in it, because I think that someone who's born with really good genes just could come up still to be a really... I guess I'll just say bad person, just cause. Whereas someone who's born with, let's just say bad genes, right, could be raised to be a good person. So, I think it really comes down to a lot of aspects in your environment, such as your parents and your upbringing, but also situations and how you perceive them and how they're dealt with. And then just different wounds and how they heal over time. So I think it really can be either or depending on the person. Some people can just be born and they're just from the beginning are just set up for success, and then there's some people who are born and are just fighting against adversity from the day that they're born, and they could both end up in the same place or vastly different places. So I guess that's where I stand, is right in the middle, where I belong.
Okay. Aryanna?
No, just keep it up for the patriarchy. Like, men go first, so I'll wait till I'm last. Just go ahead.
That's why you're sitting on the floor.
Puts chains on me. No.
It's not funny.
So, as a Marxist, I align with the tradition that what shapes human behavior most significantly is our environment. I think that you can have, parents who are both geniuses, and you can end up, somebody who just is in love with hurting people, committing sick crimes, and just being a shit person. And
wasn't that how it was with Ted Bundy? Like,
no, you're thinking of who's the person that eat all the people?
Jeffrey Dahmer?
Jeffrey Dahmer.
No. Dahmer was the one who was like bullied as a kid and abused, wasn't he? I thought that Ted Bundy was the one.
I didn't watch the documentary yet.
Okay, no, because I've seen interviews with Ted Bundy, and he's talked about how he had like 2 loving parents. He had plenty of friends.
A lot of them talk about their life being pretty normal.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that regardless of your sort of genes, it's the environment at the end of the day that impacts you most significantly. Even when it comes to animals, you can have a pit bull and raise him or her in a crazy environment where he or her is trained to fight and just, or you yell at him or abuse the dog, and that dog will respond accordingly. But at the same time, you can have a pit bull and you raise it with love, and he's going to be a loving pit bull. You know what I'm saying? Mm. And I think the same applies to humans. Now, if you want to make the argument that all pit bulls have a certain amount of aggressiveness to them, yeah, sure, why not? I mean, pit bulls are just a little bit more aggressive than other dogs, but that doesn't mean that they're going to fuck around and kill you. Right,
if that's the case, could the same argument be made towards humans? That certain people have more aggressive traits, tendencies, or genetics than other people, whether it be by race, ethnicity, or just other genetic aspects that we're not aware of yet.
Yeah, but I'm saying all pit bulls have a certain amount of aggressiveness. I'm not saying some pit bulls have a certain amount of aggressiveness. So I don't know to what extent I would take that statement and say some humans are a bit more aggressive.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, because we're talking about pit bulls as a breed of dogs. Right. Just like there's different breeds of humans. That's what I mean by some humans. Like certain breeds of humans. I mean, we can get into like race realism, but I think that's all bullshit. But just playing devil's advocate, I mean, that argument, isn't that how that argument gets made? Like, oh, black people are genetically predisposed to be more aggressive.
Yeah, I don't think it apply. I don't think it fits that well as dogs and comparing dogs to humans.
No, I don't either. I think it's a ridiculous ass argument. I'm just wondering how you feel towards it as a counter argument to yours.
No, I don't think it's a fair. It doesn't make sense to me. Because it's like pit bulls are pit bulls. Yeah. So if we're saying pit bulls and comparing pit bulls with humans, then sure. But we're not. We can't compare dogs to humans because they are wolves.
So they'll always have those aggressive tendencies. But but that's how the argument gets made, by like Nazis and whatnot. That's how it gets made. Is like black people are primitive, so they're closer to Neanderthals than they are to the modern human. Right. So in that same way, if you're saying pit bulls have more of those tendencies of their ancestors being wolves, then
no, I'm not. No, I'm saying dogs. Wolves are a type of dogs. They're totally different from pit bulls. I don't know if their pit bulls are genetically closer to wolves than say a husky or some shit. Obviously it doesn't seem like it, but no, in general I think that environment has the greatest impact on who we become. and how we behave. For intelligence, I think it's a little different. I think, if you have maybe genius parents, the chances of you becoming a genius are a bit more likely. Mm-hmm. However, I think that you can still become someone uneducated and, someone not unintelligent, based on the environment you are raised in. If you don't have books, how are you going to know about the world? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, that story happens all the time wherever we lose so many, so many Newtons, right? So many great thinkers in history to just like socioeconomical issues,
exactly.
Like just to poverty. I mean, you remember that story I sent you about that little Indian kid who was like a fucking math prodigy, but he was literally in the slums. Like he was living in like extreme poverty, but he was capable of grasping, and not even just grasping, but like furthering certain mathematical fields, which were it was just like astounding at the age he was at too. So I think stuff like that can definitely happen.
Okay, so I actually really like this topic. I kind of came up with it for this podcast, but it's because I've always really thought about it, and I feel like, especially since I feel like we've always had like discussions throughout our friendship, like of like 12 years, that we just always like bring things up. And especially now that I'm getting older, I feel like it's always the question of whether people are like inherently like bad or not. And when I first learned about it, which was I took humanities, and that's when we learned about Rousseau and Locke. And I really like the two things that I learned. And I won't forget that John Locke, he was nurture, right? He was more like, what is that,
genetics?
Like environment? No, which one's environmental? Nature. He was nature then. And I know that he stated that humans are born with a blank slate, and what their life is a written story, which obviously adds to the story and how it progresses.
That is nurture then. Nature is your genetics. It's how you start out. But it's not your environment. Environment is nurture. Oh, fuck, yeah, sorry. We got that backwards.
You're good. And then Rousseau, I like what he said as well, because he described children as noble savages. So that we have good, we have bad. So I feel like I'm really like 60-40 with everything, like, and sadly I'm 60%, like, I believe that we're more noble savages. But I like my friends here, I also agree that I would be a fool if I ever denied that your lifestyle or the people around you would influence who you become, because that makes a dramatic change when you're around people. And you see it, people that have been molest because it influences who they are. People that grow up with smoke. People that grow up with alcoholic parents are more likely to be alcoholics as well. And I don't always want to just blame the genetics portion of it, because being, growing up here, we've all grew up together. A lot of us have done a lot of similar things because we're around each other a lot. The way that we talk, the way that we hold ourselves, the way that we dress, certain things that we get into is all because we influence each other. So to sit there and think that we're all individuals and think that like environment plays no role in that is like obviously undeniable. But I believe nature only because I don't have like a dramatic story, but I feel as though there's a part of darkness in everyone that no one can explain what they have. And even if they're like, I'm not saying you want to kill people or you think so negatively, but everybody knows that there's a part of them that is just dark. And whatever your version of dark is, if that means you have bad thoughts, if that means you have scary thoughts, if that means you think negatively, if you're too prideful, I'm not saying it doesn't play a role with your environment, but I know that there's a part of everyone that it literally, you felt like this forever. Like there's just a portion of you. And again, I'm not saying it's bad, but, and then we look at other people, like we were talking about serial killers and other people that have had this, this feeling since what, like toddler age, of showing signs of laughing when seeing people in pain and inflicting pain on others, killing animals. That I don't know how you teach a 2-year-old to want to do that. That's just something that they want to do. And I also think like that, which like, remember when we talked about like, I love the ideas of like socialism and communism because I understand equality. I will always stand for equality. But the reason I told you guys I feel like it's hard to even stand on that side is because I don't trust humans enough. I don't believe humans want enough for each other. And that's that part of them that I know that is dark, is at the end of the day, it took us how long to sit there and educate ourselves and push ourselves to want more for others. People, we weren't like naturally like that. To sit there, you literally have to teach yourself to be a good person. And I won't even say that I'm a good person. And it's funny because Nick has always told me that I refuse to say anybody's a good person because there's something bad about us. And That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying it's not environment, but no one could look at me in their eyes and say that they're a genuine great person. And I know it's because there's something bad about you. And it's nothing you have to apologize for. But I think we're all noble savages. So we're really good people, but we all have a part of ourselves that is just undeniable. That is just inherently dark. And about it, which I think is weird, is like when it goes into religion, like I always feel like that's what like a part of us, you know, we've always gotten examples of God and the devil, but I just feel like that's just like showing us like light and dark. There's always something good. So if you think that we're just like okay people and we just get messed up as life goes on, I disagree. Everything in this world has been light and dark. I believe that there's a gray in us, but all of us are different shades of gray. Whether you're more dark or light, that's up to you. And that's what in the environment plays a role.
You can even say 50.
Oh my God.
No, I think the concept of religion is really interesting because I've always thought that it's strange how like the most good people, you know, like the most religious people tend to also be some of the most dark people. You know, and I think it's because what they're doing is it's like the brighter the light, the darker the shadow, you know, that sort of concept. So it's like by becoming extremely moral, you're kind of inflating that scale. Like I don't know if it's possible to become incredibly moral without also becoming more immoral, you know? Like, I don't know if it's possible to become really, really good without developing your bad side, you know?
Well, that's what I guess, like, what we were saying, like, is it nurture, this one? Which one's the one? Nature's what you're born with.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. I guess that's where nurture plays in, is that, like, doesn't matter who you are, the more you pull towards something, it switches the phases that you go, like, light or dark. So, yeah, I don't know. I would like to think that for the most part, we all want to believe that we're good people, but I just know that there's some people out there that it doesn't matter what love you show them, what you do for them, you cannot change who people are inside.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. I like to think that it really comes down to the individual to want the change within themselves. They need to want to grow and to learn. And unless they do, then you're absolutely right. There's nothing you can do for them. But I mean, if they do, then absolutely, I think that people are capable of great change. I mean, I used to not, but I don't know. I've just seen a lot of people like change and grow, and
but really even cool if that doesn't change the fact that there's probably like that's what I'm saying. Like there's a darkness to somebody, which it goes back to like the is it nature? I keep messing up nature, like that part of you that is just that's what I'm saying. Like I get what you're saying though. Like what you were saying when you say like no one's a good person. No one is a good person. Like. I don't care who you are because there's a part of you that's dark. Yeah. And that's why I feel like in every person, nature versus nurture is literally a person's like life. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like I think everything that you live builds up to something, but everyone knows themselves and they know that there's a part of them that is dark.
Yeah, I think another problem is, though, that a lot of people don't like facing themselves, and definitely a lot of people don't like being honest with themselves, you know, and those are two incredibly important things in developing as a person. I think it's really important to be able to face your darkness head on, you know, and to understand it because, like you said, it is a part of who you are. Everyone's got it, and it's very, very important to understand that side of yourself. If not for any reason, just to learn how to, I guess, combine the two, you know, to live a more fulfilled life. You know, it's okay to have your little vice, you know. I mean, like, imagine living a life with, like, no smoking or drinking and no meat and
but I also feel like that's not like the darkness, no sex, like that's like not that bad though. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, listening, it's like, it sounds as if we're talking about this inherent dark. We're talking about this darkness that people have as if it's something we're born with.
Yeah, the human nature aspect.
Yeah, but like we're talking about. I don't want to sound like an asshole, but it sounds like we're talking about like people changing and growing and facing themselves.
It is kind of turning into that.
And we're not talking about how this darkness is inherent. Like, we can talk about all of what you guys are talking about.
No, it's cool. You're just being kind of an asshole.
No, I know he's right though. Like, we're making it seem like
we're branching off.
Right. How is that darkness you think it's inherent. I don't think it's inherent. We're talking about it as if it is inherent. So we let's talk about why you think it is inherent, and I'll say right now why I don't think it's inherent, and I don't think it's inherent because one,
darkness talking.
There's like a form of pride.
No, I mean we all have it. I agree with that. I just don't think it's inherent. I mean, go up to like a fucking Buddhist monk who has reached nirvana 7 times over and tell him, you have this darkness in you. And
yeah, but he's eliminated the darkness. I mean, he's found a way to...
Right, but what gave him the darkness in the first place, I think, is the current state of the world. It's just we live in a dark world, so it's only logical that we have darkness inside of us too. But it doesn't mean that we are born with this so-called darkness, which we haven't even defined, really. Right. If we're talking about like depression, pessimism, just general sadness, are we using it as an umbrella term, darkness, just as a synonym for evil, as a synonym for bad?
Yeah, I guess I'm using it I'm using darkness instead of evil. I am.
Okay, so...
I was just using it towards just negativity in general.
Okay, so regardless, either way, these are negative aspects, evil and just negativity. I don't think it's inherent to the human experience and to human behavior. However, I do agree with you guys when you say that it exists in everyone. That's because we live in a negative, evil world.
Do you think there was ever a point in human history then where that stuff did not exist?
I mean, even now you can find it in some people. I mean, if we have a...
Ooh. Don't say you, Sean.
No, I'm not going to say anything. I mean, I'm a product of this system just as you guys are. But I'm saying, like, imagine, some sort of isolated village or some, maybe tribe in the rainforest, in the Amazon rainforest, or...
But even if I'm not trying to disrespect anyone's cultures, but you're telling me that you think that there's nothing there. Like there has been in history people that have performed cannibalism. You know what I'm saying? Like that have raped, that have murdered, and that's what I'm saying is like again, that would all go play back where that was more socially acceptable and everything like that. But we can't deny that there's just some things that it just defies. I think even like human instinct to be a certain way. I don't know. I just feel like every human is really out for themselves, and that's shown in history and time again. In every story, from the end of time, is that people make it about them, and they're willing to hurt others.
But in these tribes, they are a lot more focused on the community, and they're a lot less self-centered.
Yeah, I mean,
we're talking about these hypothetical tribes in the Amazon or that one.
No, that's what I'm saying. I didn't want to disrespect cultures. I don't want to name anything. I'm not saying anything like that. But that's what I'm saying. I'm not even involving specific things, but if we were to sit there and say, oh, like, no, it's just like peace and happiness, there's evil like everywhere, and it comes randomly.
Yeah, but here's the thing: we're failing to take off our glasses, our capitalist, patriarchal, racist, glasses off. Right, I'm not saying we're patriarchal, sexist, and racist, and all that. I'm saying
I know you're not saying this is Nick, but
I'm saying this is the world that we live in.
Yeah.
So we just assume all of this shit. We got to take them off for a second and realize that throughout history, not everyone has lived under this type of system and this type of world order. And even in today's world, there are people who are isolated from that totally. Have you talked to a North Korean, for example?
I've not.
Ask them. I haven't, so I don't know, but. We're just assuming this and we're using it, we're generalizing because we're Americans and we know what life is in America and we know what kind of systems we live and we've seen horrible shit, we've experienced horrible shit, and we've done horrible shit. So we're just using our experience as an umbrella for the entire world and all of humanity. People in North Korea are fucking different because they have a different worldview. They can't even fathom maybe the idea of hurting another person. I'm just saying, I don't know. There are people that I've lived in villages, and seen villages, and there are people there who are very happy, and they it's kind of negative in a sense, but they don't believe in depression. We can't fathom that because everybody's depressed in some way, and it's a serious issue. But they don't really recognize that depression. Why? Because they live a happy life.
But do you think that's because you scratch the surface of people? Like, how many people can you say that you know them? Like,
deep down?
Like, we all know each other, but do we know each other? Do we know the demons that we face alone?
Right.
And that's what I'm saying, like, to be like, oh, we don't know. We don't know what somebody in another country, what they contemplate in their mind. A lot of people have a lot of things that they run again and again. That's why we didn't even discover half the mental health issues we have until now. And even you said prior to this conversation that the nature versus nurture conversation has been a tale as old as time. So why has people been talking about it for that long? Because it's been a problem on whether this has started like at the source. So I feel like there's been a lot of evil enough for people to talk about it for centuries.
Yeah, but again, these are like, and these exist. It exists again almost throughout the whole world because we don't even need these structures in place. There wasn't fucking capitalism and shit like that in in China, for example, in ancient China, where these early debates on nature versus nurture existed. They didn't have systemic structures. They had some other forms of structures, right? Maybe they had some sort of patriarchy. I don't know. I'm not an expert in ancient Chinese, history, whatever. But I'm saying it's like, so we can take that in just in a household, for example. Like, shit goes on, It's like, you don't like how some person talks to you. Again, it's difficult because we need to take off all of our glasses and we need to be very objective and we need to be very fair, and we can't talk about the whole world and all of humanity the way we experience life and just say, oh, it is what it is. Everybody has a fucking dark side to them. Everybody is born with some sort of evil. I
think the flip side to that is that what you said is right, where we can't really know for sure. We don't know people through and through as much as we know ourselves. So we kind of ascribe, our observations of ourself to other people. I mean, a lot of this is assumptions that we have about other people that we notice about ourselves, right? Like it's easy for you to understand that everyone has a darkness if you recognize the darkness within yourself. So I mean,
No, but that's what I was saying is like we only scratch the surface with each other. So that's why overall this discussion, it will really always just be a circle because no one will ever be able to give an answer. But that's one of the craziest things about humans is we're so complex. So I don't know. Again, like I said, I will never deny environment because I think that plays a tremendous role in who someone is. However, none of us live the same life. Right. So, and I could be like around Sean my whole life and be like, which I have. I've never seen him angry. He's always so calm. I don't know how he feels. Like when you get what I'm saying? Like I don't know what he struggles with late at night. I don't know what he thinks about. I don't know what eats him. Like, I don't know what makes him lose sleep. I don't know. And he can tell me all day so like, oh, I'm good. I'm actually happy. I found inner peace. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's it. We figured it out. No, I think you're right about that. I mean, there really isn't a way to know, but the point of that was because you said we got to take off our glasses and start looking at the world and each other in an objective way, but ultimately it's almost impossible to do so because we can only look at the world through the way that we've experienced it.
We can't delete our nature, our nurture, right? Is it nurture?
Yeah.
Our nurture, not like what we've developed.
Yeah, I mean, and not to mention when it comes to other humans, since humans are such fucking weird things, I mean, we don't know them aside from how much we know ourselves. I mean, that's why someone from a different culture will make a lot of assumptions about us sitting here because they're assuming stuff about us that they can easily assume about people within their own city, village, culture, etc. I mean, like, oh yeah, you don't do this, one obscure thing. Like, oh, everyone where I know or where I'm from does this thing, so I just kind of assumed everyone everywhere does it. It's just like you think that humans are a certain way. And I think you're right. It is important to develop our worldview for that reason, but I don't know.
I mean, just the concept of evil, and we have to think about that. We know evil one way, and that's how we know it. Yeah. But there are some people that are evil. No, we don't believe in that there's evil. We don't practice evil. We don't live in a world of evil.
Yeah, but we call those people wrong.
I was gonna say, were we talking about the Westboro Baptist Church? But I feel like everyone recognizes like what that is.
Could we have a?
I really would love to know somebody that lives an extremely peaceful life where they have never even known stress to that point. I'm not.
No. Again, there's a.
No, not stress. I'm saying like I'm sorry.
Not stress. I'm not stressed. It's not about knowing it or experiencing it. I'm sure everybody at some point has experienced some sort of negativity, right? But that experience negativity because we live in a negative world does not translate into inherently negative. Like we have genes or it's somehow part of the human experience to have negativity, to have some sort of stress, to have some sort of just even as simple as bad thoughts. You know, what about nightmares? We have nightmares. Nightmares, fucking crazy nightmares where you do crazy shit. That can be considered, negativity. That's something dark and deep within us. It's in our brain. It's in our brains, in our subconscious. That alone can be considered darkness. Right?
Do Buddhist monks have nightmares?
But that's something that's why I'm not willing to say that, because I'm not willing to say it's part of all human experience, because I don't know if every human, I don't know what causes nightmares, and I don't know if every human having nightmares is natural. Is having nightmares natural to the human experience simply because everybody you know has a nightmare, everybody you know has had at least one nightmare, and everybody I know who has had at least one nightmare? I'm not willing to say it's just part of the human nature. It's part of human DNA. We live in a fucking horrible society where we fucking consume garbage every day. I'm not talking about food. I'm talking about shit on the internet. I'm talking about shit on TV. I'm talking about shit everywhere that we see. Just horrible death, blood, gore, violence. And then we come to the conclusion that, oh, we're just negative. Or let's rewind a little bit and maybe think for a second, like, wait, everything around us is just negative.
Yes.
We live around so little positivity. What positivity have you experienced today? And you and me. The negativity outweighs it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just only natural to come to the conclusion, and I don't blame people who believe that humans are inherently evil. But I think if we just take off our glasses just for a second and just think, yo, hold up. What world do we live in? Total negativity. Imagine yourselves in a utopia now, for example.
And that's not being realistic, because you're asking the human experience. So now we have to now imagine a utopia or a heaven that would you know what I'm saying? Like that's not that defeats the human experience. That doesn't, because that's not, you know what I'm trying to say? Like no, we're like, okay, so put us in like this imaginary. So well, of course we're gonna be different, like dramatically different. But what I'm saying is just overall, like there would still be bumps in the road with that, and that's why at the end of the day, like so much doesn't work because we cannot depend on other humans.
Right, but bumps do not mean evil.
Okay, well,
having a minor inconvenience in your day, right? There's still going to be death. People will die. People you love are going to die. They can die accidentally. They can fall off a fucking building and just die. They can get some crazy disease and die. But that does not necessarily translate into a deep inner evil inside us that just, that everybody has. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's what I'm saying. I do agree with you. I just but to me, it's just like, I don't know where, if we have no recorded history of a utopia, even prior to all the negativity that we live now in the 21st century, what makes you believe that that's what we are? And then you keep using examples of people that literally, what we said before, strived towards peace for years before they got it. And we still don't know, and you still at the end of the day don't know what they feel.
No, but
they
that's
only
what I'm saying.
Scratch the surface and tell you what they feel, but we don't know if one of them are contemplating killing a child. Like we don't know, and that's what I'm saying. At the end of the day, like I would love to believe that we are like that, but. And that's what I'm saying. If you're using 21st century humans, of course, we are so screwed. We're so deep in this. Like, I don't think we'll ever know peace like most people should. However, if it's always been like this, like, you don't think that shows inconsistencies in the belief that all of us are good? Because you're saying, like, oh, if we do this. Well, then you're telling me human life has never been good, so then we've never been good people naturally.
I'm just saying,
because we've always been bad. Like, we've always been killing and wars and hurting and slavery and raping, and so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but we've always been loving and caring and, you know, trying to make the world a better place. So, again, I'm coming from a position of agnosticism on this position. I'm admitting that I don't know. I don't know the answer, but I'm not willing to make that step, that reach, and saying that humans are inherently evil because all of us have a deeper inner evil, so therefore it's being evil is natural. I'm not willing to take that reach.
You don't think that, like, we all have that in us, and whether your environment triggers it or not is what...
I admit that the environment can create it and spark it, but it's not inside.
Spark it so there was something there to spark.
So my question is being evil or having evil the same as the capacity for evil?
Being evil or having evil.
Yeah. Like, we're saying, being inherently evil, right? That's what we're talking about right now. Is that the same as inherently having the capacity to
everybody
be
has the capacity to be evil, but I'm saying...
Blank slate. You can be either totally good, totally bad.
I more think it's like, if I can view it like as a person, I would think that we all like have a switch in us, and whether
like an angel and devil on your shoulder.
Yeah, and like whether or not life flips it, then that's that's life, that's environment playing into, and that's what I'm saying. It's building up whatever it was, but I do think that there's a part of us that are always that's selfish, and I don't necessarily say that just because I grew up in capitalist America. I mean, that's why I know I'm selfish, is because the way that it's many world, like, dude, you worry about you ain't first, you're last. Like, I raised like that, where it's like, you don't want to be the loser, you let other people be the losers, and it's all for you, no one else, But if we've shown, like he said, like, he's like, oh, well, humans are like that. Well, when were humans ever not like this? That's why I can't even name a time period. It's all stories, the ones that we hear of people that living in a utopia, and that's the closest thing we get to, oh, humans are good, just put them in a utopia. Then that's defeating the human experience, the human life.
No, I mean, we can think of it right now. I mean, there are some people who... There's an interesting story of this guy, this author, who went to Africa and saw some village of very poor African kids, and he gave one kid actually had 2 lollipops, and he gave the lollipop to the white guy. This poor kid who has nothing, he's poor, gave one of his lollipops to this rich white guy, this author. You know what I'm saying? And that alone tells you that this exists. There are people out there that are good, that will give you what they don't have, So
no one's saying that humans aren't good either. I'm not saying that, like, just because there's an evil switch, there's not a good switch. Like, and I know you're saying like, oh, like he was.
And even then, like, what if the kid did that, but he had also stole the lollipops? I mean, we
don't know the reasons.
I mean, no. I'm
saying like, what if people don't get thrown into categories of being good or being evil, but are just capable of committing both, and sometimes even at the same time, Yeah. Like, you can be a murderer and then also donate money to charity, or like feed a homeless guy.
Pablo Escobar is a perfect example of that.
Right.
But I don't think that's the question. Yeah, I think you're right. Most people are like that. To different levels. But I think the question is and it's an important question, that's why people have it, is that this idea that humans are inherently evil is super, super important, because it perpetuates the idea and creates an environment of pessimism, but it perpetuates the idea, like, why even try when humans are evil? Why do I go out and protest? Why do I go out and care? Why do I go out and try and try and try? When I'm a human and all humans have evil in them. Yeah, they have good, like you're saying there's a good switch and a bad switch, but what's the point of doing anything? It creates an environment of just nihilism, where it's like everything is useless, it's worthless, everything is pointless, there's no meaning, we just are, right? And that's something that is very important, and this is what I want to say here, is that regardless let's say there is an evil in us. A study comes out tomorrow that says all humans on Earth who are born have an inner evil in them. The point is still to recognize that we are either born on a blank slate or we're naturally good. We must reject this idea, and it's important to reject it, that humans are naturally evil. Because it's important for us to establish a better world. We cannot establish a better world, a better society, a just society, an equal society, if this idea that humans are born evil dominates these discourses.
Because that will always be kind of like the underlying reason.
Exactly.
Or not the underlying reason, but like the thought behind everything is, like you said, what the hell is the point in trying if no matter how much I feed people or I give out money or I help people around the world, I'm always going to be evil.
Exactly.
They're going to be evil.
Exactly.
Everything's going to become destroyed and
exactly. And you're going to be halfway doing this fantastic project, this pro-human project. You're helping feed people, and then all of a sudden it's going to hit you like, wait, hold on, what the fuck? We're all just inherently evil. What the fuck? That's why it's important to reject that idea. It's important not to believe in it. Even if you think that, yo, I just had this feeling like, yo, humans are just evil. We have to put those thoughts to the side and continue to believe that, one, the more neutral side, that if you want to be like just neutral and just objective, that humans are not born good or evil, they just are. Either that, or you should believe that humans are good. Noam Chomsky is actually very interesting when he talks about this, because he says, like, he critiques the idea of being of the blank slate, right? So not only does he critique the idea that humans are naturally evil, right? Because why would you believe, like what we just talked about, why would you believe that humans are naturally evil? What's the point of fucking living? You're just a nihilist. You think everything is pointless, worthless. But he also critiques the center position, which is humans are not born good or evil. He critiques that position. Why? Because in order to push for a just world, a better planet, a better society for human beings and all of Earth's inhabitants, we must believe that humans are born good, right? And if we have this idea that humans are born good in the back of our minds, and we spread this idea and we push and perpetuate this idea, then this sort of idea that humans are evil and humans doing evil things will decrease dramatically. You know, it'll help. It'll be a tool. It's an instrument to push for a better world. Why? Because we think humans are good and just better creatures. They're just inherently good. They're moral creatures. You know what I'm saying? They like to do good. They're just. They're equal. They're unselfish. They're selfless, right? And they're not greedy. They're not competitive. They're not individualistic. They want for a better world, and we need to believe that. It's more, the question is not whether there's good, humans are born good or evil, but why we must believe that humans are naturally good, naturally cooperative, naturally social creatures, right? That's I think the important question, and that's what we all should align to. And now I'm going to admit that I'm still in the center. I'm still kind of in the center where it's like humans are not born good nor evil. Because I've seen serial killers, I've read all that shit, you know, I know what motherfuckers are capable of. And, you know, just knowing most people aren't fucking just great people. You know, they're just normal, decent people. So, I just wanted to put that out there, that it's important to believe that humans are naturally good.
Because Papa Chomsky says so.
Because Chomsky says so, regardless of my opinions on him. I think that's a very important.
I don't know why you have negative opinions of him. No Chomsky's.
No, he's a legend. He's a legend.
Yeah. He's just so fucking lovable, dude. I'm telling you, he's America's sweetheart. I think a little long-winded, but well said, nonetheless. Are you stuck in thought right now?
I'm just thinking because, like I said, I'm as much as I was like, oh, I'm defending one side because I know, but I'm, like I said, I'm pretty much 60-40, like, I'm not denying anything. And the thing is, I completely agree with what he's saying. If we push for a certain narrative, that's the way we're going to live. If we start, I mean, it's like manifestation. If we start wanting more, believing in us more, then that's what will happen. Right? I love it. I love the idea of selling the idea that we're good, right?
But you don't know if you could like fully believe it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that's what I'm saying is like, I agree with it. Like I guess I want to say I'm more centered, but there's just that part of me that always will just think that humans there's just a part of them that's just not good. But there was like something specific that he said that I really like that he touched on. But overall, I like the idea that to tell ourselves and tell others that we aren't like that, because then we're just, whatever we manifest, that's what it will be. If we continuously say that we're evil, we will be evil.
It's just feeding into it, basically. Right?
But to me, it's also like, I also feel like to simply deny that there is a part of us that again, doesn't matter what you've been through, it's just in you. I just couldn't deny that. Like, I just feel like that's why everything that we've ever known is light and dark, right? Is like evil versus good, is because that's literally what we are. We are evil and good, but I think that it's been that since the beginning of time of our creation, is like, we are both. That's what I'm saying. Like, you're telling me that you like completely say that there's not like a part of you that you've known since you were a child that just wasn't good. Like, there was like a part of you that was bad. That's what I'm saying. And not blaming the system or family or anything else, just who you are, Sean. Like, just, that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to get deep or anything, but like, I think everyone here, well, again, I'm not speaking for everybody, but there's a part of them that is just not inherently good. And like, I would never sit there and deny and look someone straight in the face and just say like, oh, I'm this and that, and even as positive as I am and whatever. And that's what I'm saying. If we took away the tragedies or the pain in my life and the people that have hurt me and the people that have left me and everything like that, we just took that all away, right? There would still be parts of me that are just not good.
Yeah, but to what extent is like, okay.
I'm not like, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to even say like murderous crazy. I'm just saying that there is a part of everyone that's just not good, and I don't think it's always because of environment.
But not good meaning what? I mean, like, we all get sad.
No, I'm
we
not talking about
all get
sadness.
angry a little bit.
No, I'm not even talking about that. Like, people that are prideful or jealous or envious or just like, that there's just something inherently not good with you.
Like, so destructive?
Yeah, like, that there is a destructive part of everyone that is just inevitable, and it's been there. There's a reason that kids do certain things, and you're so appalled by children doing that. And I don't think it's just strictly the environment. I just think that
even like little kids like grabbing a cat by the fucking tail and just whipping him around or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
But if to say that means that you can't reform it. You know what I'm saying? It's just inherent. That means that, for example, if humans are inherently jealous, let's just say that. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say I was never jealous, but that means that you can't reform that jealousy. That jealousy is always a part of you. And I feel like I'm becoming, as I grow, less and less jealous. When I see somebody that is close to me that makes it, for example, that is successful, I'm not jealous or envious. I'm happy, right? Back then, maybe I was like, damn, I wish that was me. Like, when it came to, like, basketball teams.
But think about how much you've had to teach yourself to not be that way. That's what I'm saying is, if we keep going with the whole switch, like I said, I think there's a part of you that's not good. I think there's a part of you that's good. Whether or not you put energy towards one or the other, that's what it will be.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, I get that. But what I'm saying is that you wouldn't be able to reform it.
Why?
Because it's inherent. Things that are inherent.
You can control things. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, look at Dahmer didn't even kill people until he was an adult. He's been wanting to do that for years. It's whether or not you control it or put energy towards it.
So you're saying that things like jealousy and greed and shit like that, selfishness, will always exist, but if you control it.
If you teach yourself otherwise and you put effort towards not being that way, I believe that you can change. That's like saying, oh, they were ignorant. Well, you can change out of ignorance. Right. You can change out of people. I mean, if people believe in the justice system or the prison system, then you believe that murderers won't be murderers, right? You believe that rapists won't be rapists one day, right? That's your belief system. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it wasn't always there, but I'm saying it's always there. I just think that whatever you put energy towards, like how you're saying, if you manifest or if you verbalize saying we aren't like this, then you will it will help everything change.
Right.
I think everybody has that flip, and whether or not you put energy towards one or the other, or your environment puts energy towards one or the other, that's what it will be. And even if that flip switches, I don't think that we lose our humanity. I don't think that, like, if you're full down evil, that you're completely lost.
Yeah.
But it will take a lot of, like, education and effort towards moving back to being good.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, like, I want it to be very clear, like, I'm not saying that, like, you grew, like, you literally born coming out the womb being like, fuck everyone. Like, I'm not saying that. Right. Like, I'm saying, like, there's parts of you that I'm sure, again, just not speaking for anybody, there's parts of you that are probably just not good, and it's the effort you put towards that, being like, I'm not going to be that way, blah, 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 and then not be like that.
Nick, you brought the perfect word, I think, to describe it, negativity, because, like you just said, I'm not talking about a murderous criminal, right? You're not talking about that kind of evil, but you're talking about things such as jealousy, such as selfishness, such as greed.
Anything that's human nature that can be deemed as evil.
Right. I don't think being jealous is necessarily evil. I just think it's negative. Okay. Right? But it doesn't matter, I guess, because he's using the word negative, and I just like that word. And this is precisely why I brought up the example of the kid giving the lollipop as opposed to a serial killer, because that's kind of what the feeling I got, that you're saying that by you saying we all have this inner evil, you're not saying that we all have this inner desire to kill, right? Yeah. But we all have some sort of negativity.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why I use the example of the kid giving the lollipop, because, again, there are some cultures and some people where selfishness doesn't exist. They are taught to be selfless, right?
But maybe you're romanticizing other cultures. Yeah, because you're talking about a single. Like,
I'm not okay. We'll talk about. I'm talking about selfless. Let's talk about being then not greedy. Let's talk about not being jealous. There are people, right, who have it sort of. They're just raised with the idea of like, yo, you can't. There's no jealousy here, and they don't know what it's like to be jealous, and they don't know what it's like to be greedy. If they have $1, they'll give that dollar to you, and they won't even feel bad about it. They'll feel happy by giving you that dollar. Again, this is a problem that we are failing to take off our glasses. Even when it comes to these small things like selfishness, greedy, envy, all of these. What are the seven deadly sins or whatever? You know, gluttony and shit like that. Like
gluttony, sloth,
but like name
wrath,
name people or a place where people live in that utopia that we.
It's not a utopia. Lust. It's just certain things. For example, like I have friends who are fucking greedy. I have friends who make it a big issue. Like, they'll make you pay gas money. You know what I'm saying? I have friends like that. I have friends like that they don't want to give you a ride, for example, somewhere. Or I have friends that are don't want to share something with you, or who are jealous of you. You know, I have friends, and I know people like that.
He's like looking at Nick the whole time.
No, and like...
hell no, I'd never do that shit. People, I would just come here and eat all this food.
Like, there are people like that. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But the people that I know in, let's say, Kosovo, where I'm from, they don't have a lot of these characteristics. They don't have a lot of these qualities. I'm not saying they're not bad people there. There's still bad people there. But they don't have these qualities that we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't know what it's like to be selfish. They're dirt poor over there. But they will give you the shirt off their back. Why? Because that's the environment, that's the culture they're raised in.
But I guess that's the question I keep bringing up is, or the rebuttal I keep bringing up is, right? You're saying you've met great people in other places that don't have the goggles that we do, but you don't know what demons they face. They can show you, I'm not selfish, I'm not greedy, I don't have all this stuff, I don't focus on material, and they could be sitting there dwelling on the scariest shit in the world. Like, that's what I'm saying. We don't know the evil, the darkness, the negativity that we all have in ourselves that is inevitable.
More importantly, the examples that you're bringing up are about different cultures, which would be nurture, which would mean that if raised in these different environments, then they can be taught not to act upon these, they can be taught not to feed into these negative qualities. But it doesn't mean that they're not there from their birth. It just means that from a young age, it was kind of reared out of them. So it doesn't necessarily disprove that the negative qualities
isn't that like
were there.
Like the certain part of your life, like isn't like the first 5 years like the most significant?
Yeah, it's like your formative years.
You've seen children that have been put away and then they don't know how to function at all, and that's what I'm saying. Those are the prime years.
Genie the Wild
So if you like how you raise your children in the first 5 years compared to somebody else, that will show significance on how evil or dark that those children may be, and that's what I'm saying. Like that shows. I almost feel like what you said, that I never thought about it that way. Like, what if we all are inherently evil, but the first part of our nurture, like, takes care of whether or not that comes out. Like, think about it. You are really like how your parents raise you is pretty much like, and people can differ from the parents. I'm not saying you can't grow out of that, like we talked about earlier. It's what you put the energy towards, what you learn about, what you educate yourself about. But you can notice the difference about environment, but you don't notice that like when the little kids, when we were talking about how they do things, like they inflict pain and they don't care, they're very greedy to each other, like and you have to teach them to not be that way. That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't think that maybe we all have a part of us that are like that, and as we get older, hopefully our environment molds us to be better people, or worse, whatever we give into.
I mean, this argument that you mentioned and that you also just touched on, like, there's no lessons in like most of our classrooms where they teach people how to be not selfish.
Well, no, it would just be in culture.
It's just a fundamental way of life there.
Culture.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it's culture, yeah. I know it's culture, but that doesn't have anything to do with, well, what if they were taught that way?
Well, no, because you could take those kids and bring them over here, and they would act differently.
That's what I'm saying.
But you're saying environment. You're saying that okay, so you're completely on his. Like, he's saying environment makes a difference. That's what I'm saying.
But that's what I'm saying.
Or do you agree that there's a part of us that are? That's what I'm saying. That's the argument. You just fell into the argument of nature versus nurture. You're saying if you put those kids in different areas, they might come out different. I'm saying that
regardless of.
I'm saying that everyone might have a tendency to be bad or negative or dark, and then the way that whether or not we trigger that part of ourselves is what it will be. That's what
And I'm just saying the blank slate, which is exactly what that's what I was getting to.
Because you said move the people from Kosovo to here, and they might change to become more how we are with our goggles.
And that's exactly right. If you brought them here, they would be fucking different. And that's what I'm trying to fucking say.
All right.
And I'm trying to say that if you took those kids just and let them raise themselves, it would. I'm just saying, I don't think half of the kids would come out. I don't think they would be picking dandelions and making sure everyone was fed and drinking water. I think we have a selfishness, a greed. I think we have darkness, evil, negativity in a part of us. Whatever you want to.
So you're saying if it's not fostered. One way or another.
I think nature versus when it comes in. I don't think it's nature versus nurture. I think it's nature and nurture in every person. I think we all have a part of ourselves that is dark, negative, whatever we want to, evil, and whether or not we shape it to be that way, that's what it will be. We all have, like we said, we all have the capabilities, yes, but I think there is like a spark in everyone, and whether or not you feed that light or you feed that spark is whether or not that you will be a certain way.
There are some recent studies that claim to put an end to this debate, and the findings are essentially the idea that the environment you live in literally shapes your genes.
Yes.
And they literally cause you to have more stress. They cause you to be more susceptible to depression. They cause you to be just have more problems, literally genetically. If you live in just a rough environment, those genes are gonna come out, and you're gonna end up being, a product of that environment genetically, which again places emphasis on the environment. If you live in a better environment, your genes are not gonna be molded by the negative environment. If you live in an impoverished area, you don't have your malnourished. You just live in just a very violent area that's been bombed, so now you have uranium poisoning in your DNA and shit. Again, that's gonna shape your genes, and then your genes are gonna shape who you become. So again, it comes down to the environment at the end of the day. The worse the environment, even genetically, it impacts your genes. You said
earlier that you've seen people living in horrible places are less than us, and they're better people than us. So is that kind of not but you just said it's supposed to be like that.
No, I'm saying there can be cases. There are plenty of cases like that, literally in the millions, where people are born. Again, I'm just saying this.
Wait, because I mean the example you gave though was that they were in more poor areas than us, not necessarily that they lived worse than us.
Right.
Because, I mean, depending on how you look at it, some areas could be worse,
but
even though...
higher levels of happiness.
Exactly. Because, I mean, us, even though we're a first world country, we have significantly more depression than...
the negativity that we have here.
Okay.
A lot. Right. But that's what I'm saying is, like, even when we were talking about, though, like, when you were giving the example of people in Kosovo, that they don't have classes to be good people. Well, 5-year-olds don't have classes to be good people. It's just the way that, like, you're raised. As I'm saying, you don't think that we can mold whatever you have inside of you to end up being who you come to be.
Or we can have classes. I'm dead serious. Why not?
We could have classes on how to be good people.
You wouldn't even go, Nick, so shut up.
I would be the teacher.
But that's what I'm saying, like, again, I think we can all agree that we're very neutral and everything. I'm just saying, like, I don't know, there is just a part of me that believes that there's just a dark part of us, and whether or not we mold that energy towards it, it's what will...
If I gave you a chicken, would you be able to kill it right now?
Hell yeah.
Wait, was I hungry? Like on some craziness?
No, I'm like right now. Right now, I gave you a live chicken and I gave you an axe.
No, but I can look you right in the face and say that Nick could do it without blinking.
I don't believe that.
I do.
I don't believe that if I gave Nick a chicken right now and said kill it, I don't think he would do it. I don't even.
Not off the order, but if I was hungry, yeah. I wouldn't enjoy it, but that's why I'm saying I wouldn't do it off an order, but if like there was some sort of utility to it.
Right, but I'm not talking about like you're trapped on an island type fucking scenario.
Just like literally right here. No, I'm not doing that shit. Not just off an order. If he just give me a chicken, I had to look at it in his dumbass little chicken eyes. Have you ever chased chickens around? Like
they're fast.
Yeah, and they're so cute. Like I can't.
No, but like when you're a kid, I know all the kids poured salt on those slugs. Don't look at me in lines.
Hell yeah, dog! I salted the shit out of them slugs and watched them shrivel.
I remember watching people torture lizards, pull the tails off of them as little kids, and that's what I'm saying. Like
no, they grow back. They're good.
Yeah,
they grow back.
I never did that.
Okay, we get it. You were.
Yeah, you're not a Floridian.
He's literally a utopian.
I'm not saying like I've never done bad shit, but like I haven't been raised to abuse animals, and I always.
Well, no, all right. We would wear. We would wear the lizards as earrings.
I remember. Yeah. You did it. You put one on me once, and I was like, "Get it off me!" Fuck
yeah, all right, but that one, like they don't hurt though, and it doesn't hurt the lizard.
Who was raised to torture animals? That's what I'm saying. Like I think.
Yeah, I didn't take a class.
It's just human nature, the curiosity to do something bad. I don't think it's human
nature. I think that is
okay. You know what? You did say something that might be it. That curiosity aspect. Maybe that's what drives some of it. Maybe it's not necessarily evil intentions. It's just curious. Like, oh hey, I wonder if I could pull this, and then you pull it.
If you watch any like documentaries or you read about serial killers, it's the curiosity, it's the memory, it's the feeling, the rush.
So then that means that humans aren't necessarily evil or negative,
no, that's
but just
evil.
that
that's an evil thing to do. So that's what I'm saying. It
isn't maybe to do, but like the intention of it is based out of curiosity, which is not inherently evil. If anything, it's a very neutral characteristic, maybe even a positive one, right?
Yeah, I still think, like I said, there will always be a part of me that just I won't have faith in humanity as much as I would like to. Realistically, I would love to. I would love to believe that we all care and that we all want more for one another. But and like I said, it's because I have the goggles, I'm sure. But I just do think that there is a part of us that that is just inherently not good. And whether or not we feed it, we work towards it, we educate ourselves, then we can fall into that.
Okay.
So I'm surprised no one mentioned this yet, but again, this goes back to what I was talking about. What's the point then? Camus, the philosopher, literally has a whole book called The Stranger, and then motherfuckers didn't understand it, so he made a new book, a shortened version called The Myth of Sisyphus, about, I guess, Sisyphus, who was punished by God.
Yeah. And
his punishment was to lift a boulder up a hill, right? And then it would drop down, and he would have to pick the boulder up again and go again, right? He was punished to do that for the rest of his life. Because
he tricked the gods. I remember that out of death like multiple times. Right. He done got that.
and the philosophical question of this book, The Myth of Sisyphus, is, why don't we all just kill ourselves?
I was gonna just say that when you gave us that whole thing of if we're all evil, like what's the point? I was gonna say then if we're all gonna die, what's the point of living?
Exactly.
But that's what I'm saying. So like, even if we're all evil, we can still, again, what I was saying prior is we can all work towards not being evil. We can all educate ourselves.
But if we are evil, then we wouldn't want to not be evil, right? Isn't that one of the...
I'm not saying it's, but you're making it seem like that's somebody's entire who they are. No, they're just probably a part of you that is like that. That's what I'm saying. 100%. Like we're not 100% good. I don't think. Like babies just come out of the womb with complete innocence. Like I don't know. Like I don't think babies are bad. Like do you know what I'm saying? Like I just know that they have the capabilities, I guess, of when they're 4 years old or 2 years old to become a certain way. And when we were going back into Jeffrey Dahmer, like, well, I don't want to use him. Ted Bundy he probably had a good life. It was just something triggered that part of him.
I mean, but
even it could have been the curiosity.
Even the example that Nick gave that we totally ignored, Jane.
Yeah, I was waiting for someone to talk about Jeannie.
Jeannie
the Wild Child. Yeah.
I watched that like thoroughly, and that was crazy.
I mean, that's an example that the people use for the nature argument, because she was deprived of life, right? She was kept in a cage, and...
But the only issue with that is she wasn't deprived. It wasn't neutral. It was negative.
Right.
She was strapped up.
Exactly.
She
exactly. This is exactly what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Is because the people who make that nature argument is saying, like, you see, Jeannie the Wild Child, she's a fucking animal. She's crazy. She was literally barking. She had animalistic behaviors, right?
So, yeah, they treated her like an animal.
Exactly. They treated her like an animal. They yelled in her face. They growled at her. So, of course, she's going to take these examples. So... as opposed to what the nature argument people make, it actually flips on its side and it becomes a nurture argument, because she was deprived of everything and she fucking was treated like an animal, yelled at, screamed at, barked at, and treated like shit. So she literally just took that and took it to herself. So it has nothing to do with the idea that Jeannie the Wild Child, you see, that's proof that humans are just naturally evil, animalistic,
but she wasn't
barbaric.
Even evil, though. She wasn't
But that's what I'm saying. I'm using evil in the negative context, in the way you use it. But the argument gets flipped on its head because, well, we see how she was treated. So now it becomes proof of nurture.
Okay, but that doesn't go. Wait, I'm so confused because yes, that with her it went into the whole nature versus nurture on her behaviors, but not who she is. We don't know who she is. Like she cannot verbalize her feelings. We don't know what she feels inside, and that's what I'm saying. It keeps going into we only know the surface of other people, so we don't know what the demons everyone faces. So as much as I would love to say that you're a great person, I really don't know what demons you face, what thoughts you have at night, and that's what keeps going into the whole thing of like. There might be a part of us that is bad, but I don't think that with Jeannie. I think that only goes with like her personality. Just say it out loud.
All right, we gotta wrap it up soon.
Okay. Sean was doing the thing.
No, because he said it was 109.
What the heck?
Like okay, 15 minutes ago.
It's 108 right now.
Oh, okay.
But no, that's why I was just saying that like maybe her characteristics and the way she walks, talks, and eats was that way, but I don't know how that has to do with like her. I don't want to say emotion.
But she's not capable of, like, those types of feelings that you're thinking about. You know what I'm saying? It's like, she can't think of like, she knows pain. She knows. I'm not gonna pretend I know everything.
Joy. She laughs.
Right. She knows some basic things like joy, pain, sadness.
So at the very least, she was animalistic. She was primitive.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly. But we can't sit here and say that. Oh my God! I just want a boyfriend or some shit. You know what I'm talking about? Like she doesn't have those sort of feelings that we have.
But what does that have to do with like that inherent evil that we were discussing?
Because that goes to animals as well. We can talk about. This whole conversation could be about animals then. You know.
But animals have mates.
Yeah,
overall, I think that we're like
95%
good, 5% bad. If you feed the bad, it's what's gonna be. If your environment feeds the bad, and that's what.
If it's 95-5. I mean, I'm not gonna argue against that. I'm not gonna say like that's the wrong number.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like I went into this whole conversation saying I'm 60%. Like I believe that it's like naturally a part of you, and then 40% it's your environment. I think I can like say now that I flipped the switch, but I still do believe what. So now I think it's 60% nurture, like your environment and who you're around that plays a part in who you are, how you are. But naturally, I still always think that as much as we want the most for each other, and I think we're striving to be more positive, and peaceful, and I think that there will always be a part of humans that are just not great.
So if we're 60% good and 40% bad...
No, that's my belief system. I'm saying
right,
90% though. 95, remember?
Okay, so if you're saying humans are 95% good and 5% bad, I would just go out on the limb and just say that humans are just naturally good species. If those are the numbers.
Yeah, like treat it like
I wouldn't
Stitch.
even focus on the 5%. That's
well, we're not focusing on it. It was just like part of the discussion. But like Stitch, remember when Stitch came? He was crazy, and then he took time, and Stitch was good. Right. There were just parts that we didn't understand.
Well, Hana means family.
But I don't know. I always thought the same thing. Like I remember when I watched E.T., I was like, oh my god, I can't trust these humans. Like an alien comes and look what we do to him. Like we ruin it for him. Look what we do to animals.
Yeah.
And I think it's just sometimes, and it's funny because whenever we talk about human nature, it's always negative.
Bro, what if aliens are just watching us and they're just scared to come down here?
I know
like,
the aliens pass.
These motherfuckers is wild and they need to chill.
I know they be passing Earth like, ew, the ghetto. Like, they don't even want to be coming here.
Ew, you stopped by Earth? The fuck? I thought you said you want to go on vacation. Like that's the equivalent to like vacationing in like Point Siena. Yeah, I went on a vacation. Where? Point Siena, Florida. I went to Eustis. Damn. Alright, well I think
last words.
This was entertaining. That's for sure. I'm tired. So I was really in and out of it, but no, I think both of you brought up a lot of really good points. But neither of you changed my neither of you changed my mind, so you both lose.
Okay.
Better luck next time though. I would say that you brought up more points, but Aryanna brought up better points.
Ooh.
No, I'm kidding. I don't know. No, I mean I think it was an interesting look at the argument. I think we did get off a little bit and we started talking about like, is man good or evil, which ties into nature and nurture, but wasn't. No, it was kind of like a specific thing, but I feel like it's so difficult to stay on topic with this because it branches into so many different things. I mean, even with you wanting to branch it into like capitalism and socioeconomic struggle, like it fits, all of this fits almost everywhere, and that's why it's been a discussion for as long as we could fucking remember. But I think this was fun at the very least. Fuck.
Last point.
God bless you.
Final thoughts.
No, like I said, I went into this saying I 60% believe it's nature, 40% believe it's nurture. I can say I flipped. I believe it's more environment, so I'm 60% nurture, 40% nature. But unfortunately, again, as much as I want to believe in humanity because I know what we're capable of, and like when we've talked about politics and everything that we've ever talked about with other like socialism and certain things like that, like if we could believe in each other and all have inner peace and enlightenment, then we could all live a certain way. Unfortunately, I do not believe all humans are naturally wanting that all for us.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why, and we talked about it actually at the end of the last one, that's why it's so important to basically re-educate people. It's a huge part of what needs to happen for any form of revolution is for people to learn that the way that they are living now is not the only way, and in fact, it's the wrong way.
Yeah,
that
because there's all that, like I said, my belief, I think that there's always that one part of ourselves that doubt, that the angel versus devil, and whatever, like I said, I've been saying previously, if you, like, and what Sean said, whatever you manifest, whatever you say, that's what it will be. Whether or not you agree with me, you agree with Sean, you agree with Nick, please take it to where you think more positively.
Yeah.
Right. Whether or not that is the truth, whether or not there is a study tomorrow that we all have 5%, 2% evil in us, whether that's there, and if you believe it's there, if it's there and you know it's there, just don't feed into it, because we're all capable of changing, we're all capable of growth.
Yeah.
Except for Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk is literally beyond saving.
And everything I said, Diana.
And everything I said last episode does not apply to Charlie Kirk. It does not apply to Charlie Kirk. Literally, I was talking about how, like, even with, like, fascists and Nazis, that I want to try to give them a chance with re-education, but not Charlie Kirk.
Not Charlie Kirk. Nah. Not Charlie Kirk or Candace Owens.
Yeah, no, I am so
every time
good
I will
on
leave
that.
this podcast.
Oh, and oh my God,
remember to say that.
Nick Fuentes. Yeah, no, not him. Have you heard of him? No. He's a white nationalist. Marjorie Taylor. Is that? Yeah, no, she.
Is it crazy? All of those people believe that they're in the light.
Yeah.
Because their special book tells them. That's crazy.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I know that their special
Someone calls
book.
it Sky Daddy.
Sky Daddy.
They go, you think you're good because Sky Daddy told you. I feel like I'm gonna regret saying that in a podcast.
Their special book that's mad funny.
Like Dragon Tales.
Yeah, it just makes it sound like all right, go grab your special book and go sit in the corner. But I said, go sit in the corner. No, it's true though. Fuck Charlie Kirk.
My final thoughts, or just exactly what Aryanna just said, is that regardless, the emphasis should be placed on why it's important to believe that humans are naturally good, even though I lean towards the idea that there's a blank slate when it comes to human behavior. You're based on your environment, you become good or you become bad. Regardless of that belief, I try my best. I'm trying to
be better than everyone.
Not be better than everyone, but to adopt the idea that we must believe that we are inherently good, and once we establish that idea, I think then we can proceed, and it'll just benefit humanity if we believe that we are inherently good. Because if we believe that we are inherently bad, that is just an inherently negative mentality, and it will only perpetuate more negativity in the world. So the emphasis should be on why we must believe that we are inherently good beings.
Hashtag manifest.
Hashtag.
Alright guys, well thank you for stopping in and listening to this twofer that we had.
This one.
Yeah, it was fun. I still have no clue what the fuck next week is gonna be.
Next week we are going to discuss the various pillowcases.
Between who's better looking, Johnny Depp or Leonardo DiCaprio?
Depends on type, dude. I'd probably say Johnny Depp. He has more of that like dirty, rugged look.
You trying to call yourself Johnny Depp?
Shit, you trying to call me Johnny Depp? Well, god dang. I'll take it where I can get it. Shit.
Hi, Mojo. Bye, Mojo.
Alright, I think that's all for this week. Fuck off.